Hi guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. So today we're going to be covering a topic of cultural competence in education. Right, I'm going to start with a simple but powerful question. Why does cultural competence matter in education, specifically secondary school or secondary education? So um, in in today's world, classrooms are more diverse than ever. One, over 1/3 of students in secondary schools come from minority ethnic backgrounds. This means that in any given classroom, you might have students from different cultural speaking and religious backgrounds, all bringing their own unique perspective and experiences. Um, Schools are not just to teach subjects like maths, science, or literature. It's to help shape young minds and also foster an inclusive environment and prepare students for the global society. That's where the cultural competence comes in. Now, um, cultural competence isn't just about acknowledging that people come from different backgrounds. It's also about understanding how those backgrounds shape their experiences, identities, and learning styles. It's about recognizing our own biases and ensuring that we create a classroom environment where every student feels seen, heard, and valued. So today, I'm going to take a deep dive into what cultural competence means and why it's crucial for both teachers and students and how we can actively foster it in schools. We're going to discuss the benefits, the challenges, and strategies, and real life examples to bring these ideas to life. So, whether you're a teacher, parent, carer, policymaker, or just someone interested in the role of education, this talk's for you. And I also believe there is some schools out there that are doing this. So please, don't think I'm just attacking schools because I work with a lot of schools, so I'm not just attacking education as a whole. So I'm going to give uh, a breakdown of understanding cultural competence. So cultural competence is a multifaceted set of skills that enables teachers to create inclusive, respectful, and effective learning environments for students from diverse backgrounds. It consists of four key elements. So you have awareness, knowledge, skills, and action. So let me. What I'll do is I'll break down each one of those. Okay. So the first one is awareness. So by recognizing your own cultural background, biases, and assumptions, this is the this is the foundation in developing cultural competence. It requires it requires teachers to engage in deep self-reflection to understand how their own cultural identity, experiences, and biases influence their teaching practices and interaction with students. So in practice, it's like a self-reflection. So teachers should regularly reflect on their own cultural upbringing and how it has shaped their perceptions of different groups. It then goes we go into the unconscious bias. So that's recognizing that everyone has biases, but actively working to identify and challenge them. So, for an example, teachers may unconsciously have different expectations of students based on gender, ethnicity, or socioeconomic backgrounds. Um, we also have the cultural lens. So that's understanding that a teacher's worldview is shaped by their cultural background, and it may not be the same as their students. Also have to be mindful and checking assumptions. So we have to avoid making generalizations about students based on their background. So for instance, not all students from immigrant families struggle with English, and not all students from affluent backgrounds excel academically. So a teacher may assume that a student who doesn't make eye contact is being disrespectful. However, in some cultures, direct eye contact with an authority figure can be considered rude. By so by being aware of these differences, the teacher can avoid misinterpreting a student's behaviour. Now, we then move on to number two, which would be knowledge. So that's having an understanding of different cultural perspectives, traditions, and experiences. So this involves actively learning about the diverse cultural backgrounds of students, especially in your class, their traditions, their communication styles, which is very important, and educational expectations. This includes understanding historical and societal factors that shape their experiences. So this means, like, by studying cultural histories, that's learning about different ethnic groups, their historical experiences in the UK, and how systemic factors may affect them today. We also have an understanding of educational differences. So that would be recognizing that the education systems vary across cultures. So some students may come from backgrounds where memorization is emphasized, while others may be used to inquiry-based learning. We have to look at the language diversity as well. So that'll be understanding that students who speak multiple languages may require different kinds of support, and that they have to understand that just because a student may be bilingual should be celebrated rather than treated as a deficit. Now, I know a lot of schools do this, but we have acknowledging religious and cultural practices, which I know a lot of schools do, but that's being aware of certain religions and what's going on for them, such as Ramadan and Diwali, and cultural traditions that may affect attendance, dietary needs, or dress codes. So, a teacher working with a large number of Eastern European students may take the time to learn about different grading systems and educational expectations in their home countries. So this can help them understand why some students might be initially confused by a UK classroom expectations and the assessments that they have to go through. Number three, communication and interacting effectively with students from diverse backgrounds. So by developing cultural competence requires practical skills that allow educators and teachers to engage meaningfully with students and their families from various cultural backgrounds. Now, I can understand that can be difficult, and sometimes it comes down to money, but in practice, you can do this by actively listening. So just by making an effort to understand students, understanding their perspectives without judgment, um, being culturally responsive. So culturally responsive teaching is adapting lesson plans to include multiple perspectives and experiences. One thing that can't be overlooked is building relationship with students and families. So that's encouraging open communication and making families feel welcome in school and within a school environment. They can also adapt teaching styles. There's nothing wrong with adapting. So by using a variety of methods to cater to different learning preferences, influenced by cultural backgrounds. Now, one thing I'm a firm believer in is conflict resolution. So handling misunderstandings with cultural sensitivity and using inclusive language in the classroom. So, as an example, a teacher might notice that a student from a collectivist culture is reluctant to speak up in class because they were raised to prioritize group harmony over individual expression. So instead of assuming that that particular student lacks confidence, the teacher could encourage participation in small group discussions where the student may feel more comfortable contributing. Now, the fourth one would be implementing inclusive practices in the classroom. So you must understand that cultural competence isn't just about awareness, knowledge, and skills. It's also about taking real action to create an inclusive and equitable classroom environment. Now, yeah, this what it's difficult, which I understand, and so what does that mean? So by diversifying the curriculum, so including books, case studies, and historical examples from a wide range of cultures, creating safe spaces for discussion. So, encouraging open, respectful conversations about cultural differences and social justice issues. Um, we, I mean, we can challenge discrimination. So by addressing microaggression, stereotypes, and biased behaviours when they're raised, um, we can also advocate for school change, encouraging school leadership to implement policies that support cultural inclusivity. Another way is making accommodations, so adjusting classroom policies to respect cultural and religious needs, such as allowing flexible deadlines for students observing religious holidays. So that could be something that is like a history teacher um, revising their curriculum to include not only British history but also contributions from Black, South Asian, and Indigenous communities. This ensures that all students see themselves represented in the learning materials, which then fosters a deeper understanding of history from multiple perspectives. Now, and again, I'm sure a lot of schools are doing that. But again, I'm trying to cover as many angles as possible. So let's move on to the multicultural landscape. Um, yeah, let's talk about the demographic shifts in the UK and why they matter in education. Um, so in the UK, we've seen significant immigration over the past century, resulting in a rich cultural mosaic. So students may come from African, Caribbean, South Asian, East Asian, Middle Eastern, and Eastern European backgrounds. Um, so again, it's quite multifaceted, multicultural. So some of those may speak English as a second language, while others might have unique family traditions and cultural expectations. We also have the religious diversity is also a key factor. Students might be Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Jewish, or follow other belief systems. So as a teacher or as an educator, we all must recognise that students don't experience school in the same way. Some students may face discrimination, language barriers, or cultural misunderstandings that impact their confidence and performance. So when we acknowledge these realities and integrate cultural competence into education, we create a more equitable classrooms where all students can thrive. Now, what are the benefits of cultural competence in education? So, cultural competence is not just a nice to have skill. It's essential for creating equitable, inclusive, and effective learning environments. When teachers and educators and students and the school embrace cultural competence, the the entire educational system benefits. So how does that look? Some of you may be saying. So um, we'll start with the benefits for students. So it would be, number one would be enhanced engagement. So students would feel more connected when their cultural backgrounds are reflected in the curriculum. When students see their heritage, traditions, and lived experiences represented in the classroom, they feel valued and understood. The connection fosters a greater sense of belonging, which in turn increases their participation and motivation. So one of the examples on that, if to use an example, would be, again, we'll go back to a history teacher. Sorry for the history teachers out there, but so a history teacher includes discussions on Black British history, like the Windrush generation, the South Asian contributions to the NHS. So that in that way, that's ensuring that students from diverse backgrounds they actually see themselves in the curriculum. So when students feel when a student feels represented, they are more likely to engage in discussions, complete assignments, and feel invested in their learning. And not only that, understanding their peers. That's another key element to that. So number two, it's we say that would improve academic outcomes. So something I was looking at the other day. So research shows that culturally relevant teaching leads to better student performance. So when lessons are tailored to students' backgrounds, they become more relatable and meaningful, improving comprehension, retention, and overall academic success. A maths teacher uses real world examples from diverse cultures. So, as an example, the African fractal geometry, so that are the Mahan number systems, to make abstract concepts more engaging and relatable. So, students students have demonstrated that higher achievement scores, greater interest in learning, and improved problem solving abilities when education feels relevant to their experiences. So three is stronger critical thinking skills. So exposure to diverse perspectives enhances students' ability to analyze issues from multiple angles. So a culturally competent classroom challenges stereotypes and encourages students to question dominant narratives by exposing them to different perspectives. So, as an example, an English teacher assigns books from authors of different racial, ethnic, and cultural backgrounds. Then they could then ask students to compare how themes like justice, identity, or resilience are explored in different cultural contexts. And the impact on that is students would develop empathy, challenge biases, and build analytical skills, which prepares them for higher education and careers in a multicultural world. So number four would be greater inclusivity. So a cultural competent classroom is a safe and respectful space for all students. So a safe and inclusive learning environment ensures that students from all backgrounds feel comfortable expressing their thoughts and identities without fear of judgment or discrimination. So an example of that would be a teacher incorporates students' home languages into classroom discussions so which acknowledges cultural traditions and ensures that all voices are heard and respected. Now, the impact on students is that they would gain confidence, they would participate more, um, they would respect each other's differences, leading to a more coercive, supportive classroom culture. So we've talked about students, but what are the benefits for teachers? So benefits for teachers are stronger student relationships. So that would be understanding the cultural backgrounds fosters trust and respect between teachers and students. And remember, you always remember, the good teachers. And there's many people out there that always remember that one teacher that went above and beyond. When teachers make the effort to learn about their students' cultures, languages, values, students feel seen, respected, and understood. So, as an example, a teacher correctly pronounces students' names, learns key greetings in multiple languages, and acknowledges cultural celebrations in the classroom. This can lead to stronger relationships, greater trust, better behaviour management, and a more positive learning atmosphere. So then number two is professional growth. So a teacher that becomes better at communicating and leads by expanding their cultural knowledge. So culturally competent teachers, they continuously learn and adapt, making them more versatile, empathetic, and effective professionals. So, as an example, a teacher attends cultural competency workshops, reads literature on diverse educational practices, and collaborates with other colleagues, other teachers to share inclusive teaching strategies. The impact on that is immense. So this growth enhances career development, increases leadership opportunities, and improves overall teaching effectiveness. Now we've done benefits for students, benefit for teachers. So what are benefits for schools? So one, a more inclusive environment. So schools that prioritise cultural competence creates welcoming spaces for students and staff. A culturally inclusive school actively celebrates diversity through policies, curriculum, and events that recognise and honour different backgrounds. So, as an example, schools hold cultural appreciation days, multilingual parent engagement events, and inclusive holiday celebrations. Again, we've always got to talk of the impact of if these things are done. I mean, the impact is a more welcome environment for students and their parents and carers, a reducement in absenteeism, and fosters a positive school climate, and actually it strengthens community ties. So number two in this would be a reduction in bias and prejudice. So teachers who model cultural competence, or schools that model cultural competence, help combat stereotypes and discrimination. So when schools challenge biases and foster open discussions about diversity and inclusion, students learn to respect and value different perspectives. So, as an example, a school that implements anti-bias training for staff, integrates discussions on systemic discriminations into the curriculum, and creates policies that addresses microaggressions and discrimination. The impact, again, if we're covering the impact of this, are schools that promote cultural competence, reduce instances of of bullying, increase mutual respect among students, and create a safer, more equitable learning environment. Number three, preparation for the global workplace. Now, students learn valuable interpersonal skills that will benefit them in a multicultural workplace. So, in today's globalized world, students will work alongside people from different backgrounds. Schools that emphasize cultural competence prepare students to succeed in a diverse professional environment. Now, impact students enter the workplace with strong cross-cultural communication skills, adaptability, and the ability to thrive in diverse teams. Now, this doesn't come without its challenges. So there are challenges to cultural competence, and despite the clear benefits, achieving cultural competence is not without challenges. So you have a lack of training. So many teachers training programs don't cover cultural competence in depth, and I understand it's having the time to do that. I understand teachers are busy, but some things have to change. Personal biases. Teachers may unconsciously bring their own bias into the classroom, and again, without being disrespectful, but majority of teachers are middle class. Um, and this is something that needs to change also. Systemic barriers as well. Standardized testing and rigid curriculums don't always allow for culturally relevant teaching. I understand that. Limited resources is key as well. Some schools lack the funding for professional development or diverse teaching materials, and especially with the cuts that's going on, where more money, and I understand a lot of schools are in debt. So, strategies for promoting cultural competence, and that's a question of how can educators build cultural competence, basically. And for me, it's professional development. Schools should offer workshops and training on cultural awareness, especially some of these academies and trusts. Curriculum reform, this goes higher, include literature, history, and case studies from diverse backgrounds. Classroom practices use inclusive language, celebrate all cultural events, and encourage open discussions. Community engagement, very important. Partner with parents and local cultural organisations to bring real world perspectives into the classroom. And the final one would be reflective practice. So that's teachers should continuously evaluate their biases and seek feedback. Yeah, it's quite a key. Now, I'm going to give you, a case studies and real work and some real applications. So you had the London Challenge. These things you can look up. That was a successful initiative that improved outcomes for minority students by prioritising cultural competence. The black curriculum. So that was a movement advocating for more black history in UK schools. And then you had the multilingual schools in Bradford, so schools that integrate students' home languages into learning, improving engagement and academic success. So as I always do, I do my final thoughts and call to action. So cultural competence isn't just an optional skill, it's a fundamental necessity in education. When educators commit to cultural competencies, students feel seen, respected, and empowered to reach their full potential. Schools become more inclusive, classrooms become spaces of belonging, and society as a whole moves towards greater equity. So, so I encourage you to take a moment of reflection. How culturally competent are you? What changes can you make in your classroom, in your school, at home, to create a more inclusive and equitable learning environment? What steps can you take to actively foster diversity, understanding, and respect? We have to remember that Cultural competence is an ongoing journey, not a final destination. It requires a continuous self-reflection, education, and adaptation. By increasing awareness and expanding knowledge, developing skills, and taking meaningful action, teachers, parents, and carers and policymakers can build classrooms where every student, regardless of their background, feel valued, supported, and empowered to succeed. So this isn't just about acknowledging diversity. It's about embracing it, celebrating it, and using it to create stronger, more engaged learners, well prepared educators and teachers, parents and carers, and schools that truly reflect the world we live in. So, let's continue this conversation, and work together to make education more inclusive, equitable, and transformative for all. So guys, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to comment, subscribe, and share. It really helps bring more voices into these discussions. See you on the next one.